I'll go ahead and start making introductions, and we'll get started. It's 5 after, so my name is James. So if you haven't met me before, I'm one of the creators of Skies, and Julius is also here. Where are you, Julius? There he is. Julius is, many of you know, is the creator of Skies, the other co-founder of Skies. So thank you guys for taking time out of your evening to share with each other. I hope that you find this webinar to be helpful and informative. Because we work with so many schools, some of them were already back doing hybrid. The hybrid might look a little different from how LAUSD is doing hybrid at most places, but we've already heard some of the audience are at pilot schools that will be doing hybrid earlier. So we thought this would be a great opportunity for people to share that have already been making this transition. And then if you guys have more, questions or needs, LAUSD and some other districts are about to go on spring break. And so, we can work hard to help with that, to, help prepare you for when you'll be back. So I'd like to introduce our panelists. And really appreciate them volunteering to be here today. So we have a principal, Principal Frank Montejano of St. Marianne School. And with him are a couple of his teachers. We have Laura Armstrong, so welcome, thank you for coming. We also have Ms. Rosario Soto, so thank you also for being here. Also from St. Marianne. And then we also have Marie Morales from St. Margaret Mary. And so we'll have a series of questions that we've put together. So I've got half a dozen questions here, and we'll go through them one at a time. And maybe the panelists could just kind of go in order and each share from the questions, and then we should have time afterwards to open it up for more questions. And if people need to run off, we'll stick around and be sure to follow up with any questions that you didn't get answered. Okay.
Where is the school located?
So these are kind of east of us, around sort of the Chino area. So yeah, we have still serving the Los Angeles area.
St. Marianne is in Pico Rivera.
Pico Rivera. Thank you. All right. So so I was hoping that each of you could begin by sharing with us what your typical day looks like now, kind of hour by hour.
Okay, I'll go first. So our students arrive at staggered times. So as our students are in-person students, I call them traditional students. As our traditional students come in, we have them come in at staggered times. I usually will have like an educational video on screen. I teach second grade. So there's a great series on Netflix called Number Blocks. And I love the way that they talk about numbers and manipulate numbers, and they make it fun. So usually they come in and we have a Number Blocks episode on my projector. And then once all of our students arrive, it's time for morning prayer. So we pray as a school. And again, that's projected onto my projector. So the students can see the principal leading us in prayer. After morning prayer is when we join our Zoomers. It's helped me to give them names. So sometimes I have to address my Zoomers and I have to address my traditional students. So I gave them names just so I can clarify throughout our day. So the Zoomers join us. And when the Zoomers join us at 8:15, that's when our school day officially starts. And one of the ways—
the thin slice?
Well, I'll go ahead and mute.
Sure.
Sorry about
Oh,
that.
you're okay. One of the ways that I take attendance is through Skies. So every morning our students have something called a daily check-in.
sorry. Sorry, Miss Armstrong. Let me just press mute all and then unmute you. Excuse me. Please go ahead. Just go ahead. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay, so as our day starts, my kids do something called a daily check-in. And what that is it's a prompt on Skies. And, you know, it asks them a silly question. Today was, what's your favorite movie? Another one that we had recently was, would you rather be 10 minutes early or 5 minutes late? So it's just a fun question that they get to respond to. And I usually have them answer in 1 to 2 sentences. Again, that's one way that I take attendance. So everyone on Zoom and everyone in class is writing a response. Sorry if you hear background noise. I have a 4-month-old. But so they do their daily check-in. I have them share out and I take attendance. Once we are all finished, I do hide that card so that later if I want to know, okay, who was on Zoom today, who was in the classroom today. You know, we're doing a lot of things at once. So sometimes we lose track of who is there. I can go back and check my attendance for the day. So that's our daily check-in. And then after daily check-in, we have scripture time where we read from our Bible. And then we again say a prayer as a classroom. After that, it's usually time for my traditional students to go to snack. We have to do hand washing and all that stuff before we send them out. So we have the Zoomers sign off for a little bit and our traditional students wash their hands, get ready for snack, and then they're dismissed to snack. When they come back, I work everyone again, my Zoomers and my in-person students all are with me in the classroom. My Zoomers we have Happy Numbers. We have a subscription to Happy Numbers, which is just a math program. So they are working on Happy Numbers. My Zoomers are working on Happy Numbers while I work with my traditional students. Something that has helped me is I want to be able to, for direct instruction, I want to be able to give my full attention to each specific group. I tried it at first. I tried to just teach them both at the same time, and it was really difficult. I felt like my attention was just divided. So I work with my traditional students and we do math instruction together. And once we are done, I have them do their exit ticket and they turn that in right away on Skies. So I'm getting assignments back in real time. And then I work with my Zoomers and I repeat that whole process. After that, we do the same procedure with ELA. And I always have something I learned, I always have my traditional students, if I'm teaching them separately, I teach my traditional students first, because if I'm teaching my Zoomers first, my traditional students are hearing all of the answers and all of the instructions. So it's helpful to do them first and then my Zoomers. And then we break for lunch, and that's about it for the morning instruction. And then we do afternoon instruction, which is usually just science and social studies in the afternoon, and that's only on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Thanks, Ms. Armstrong.
Yes.
Could we hear from one of the next teachers?
I'll go. I guess I'll go.
Great.
Okay, so the morning part is pretty much the same as Miss Armstrong because we're at the same school. So the kids come in staggered. I teach 4th grade, so my kids are a little bit older. So since they've been at home all this time on Zoom, they can stay in their seat, but they can't socialize. They can talk quietly to each other until it's morning prayer. That's what I let them do. And then we have morning prayer at 8 o'clock with Dr. Montejano. And at 8:15, we all come together. I don't call mine Zoomers. I call them at-home students and in-school students. So I just go kids at home, kids at school. And basically, we're on together all day because they're older. The only time that it's different is lunch and snack and recess, because we need that extra time to wash our hands and go to the restroom, because we have to really be careful about our hygiene, obviously, because of COVID reasons. So, but basically, I use Skies Learn all day long as well. Mostly for math, it's been great because we share, just like you're looking at it right now, your screen. I'll have Engage New York up there, and I'll be doing the lesson. And so I'll share my screen with everyone because I have it projected onto my big whiteboard where our projector's there. So everyone in class is watching me do it, and everyone at home is watching me do it. So it's at the same time. So it works perfectly. So day by day, it's the same thing. I don't want to repeat myself because Miss Armstrong just went pretty much the same thing I do, except for I'm with my students at the same time. So I don't differentiate with like the home kids and the kids at school. So basically we do morning prayer, and then I do a journal prompt that I type on to my screen, and everyone answers it in their journal while I take roll. I actually say good morning to each of my students so I could see their faces and see their see their smiling eyes, because we have to wear masks all day, so I can't see their smiles, but I see their eyes smiling. So, and the ones at home I can see, obviously. So we do after journal writing, and then they share. And so the way I share with so to keep the connection going amongst the students, I have my students who are in class come up to my computer so the kids at home can see them, and they read their journal prompt, those who want to share. And the kids at home who want to share, they're on the screen so the kids at school can see them there. And then after that, we do math on Skies Learn. And then after that, we do, we have recess, we come back, and we have language arts. And again, I use Skies Learn. They can do the worksheets. If it's a worksheet, they do it directly on Skies Learn. They can annotate. And the kids in class can do, if they want to do it on Skies Learn, they can do it Skies Learn, or can do it on a separate sheet of paper. It's easier for them, or that's what they want, and they turn it in class, or they can take a picture of it and turn it in on Skies Learn as well. So we go through the day, language arts, we do, then usually it's either religion, and then it's on Mondays and Wednesdays, social studies, Tuesdays and Thursdays, science. And then after lunch, we go back to reading. We're doing a class novel, Wonder. So I read to them, and they're following along in their own book. And then we do different assignments depending on what it is. And then pretty much it's the end of the day. So I'm with the kids at home all day. We're together, except for they have a longer like lunch, you could say. So they're off for an hour for lunch, and we're off. We get 40 minutes, but that extra 20 minutes, it's used for restroom and washing hands, because it takes a while. When you get your students back, it will take a while for each student to do that, because we've got to make sure that their hands are clean and they have enough time to go to the restroom. So that's what my day looks like. And they're also picked up in scattered time, supposedly. And it's been working pretty well at our school, I think.
Great, thank you. Yeah, you don't want to rush the hand washing.
Yes.
I noticed a question, maybe before we get to Ms. Morales, because Ms. Morales is at a different school. Someone was asking, do the students, what devices do they use? Does the school have dedicated devices for individual classroom use? And it looks like Ms. Armstrong said that there's 10 iPads per class, so most bring their own devices. But there was a follow-up question about, do they bring them home and back every day? Because their school has told them that the students will not do a back and forth. So I'm just curious if what you guys are doing, if they're bringing them back and forth, and maybe that you could also mention that too when you go next, Ms. Morales.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Armstrong.
Okay, so for my kids, when we started distance learning at the beginning of the year, when all of our kids were online, our students had the option to check out an iPad. So most of my students who needed an iPad were able to check one out. I only have 21 students in my class. So luckily everyone who needed one was able to get one. And everyone else used their own device. And then when we made the transition, the students who checked out an iPad continued to use that specific iPad in class, and it's theirs until they return it. So I just have an Excel spreadsheet that says who has what iPad, and yeah, they take it home and they bring it back to school the next day.
Yeah, same with me. I have the same exact thing as Ms. Armstrong.
Great, thank you. And Ms. Morales, could you share your day?
Hi, everybody. Okay, just to piggyback, I'm also at a Catholic Squinchino. So my class is actually a little bit different. I'm considered a pull-out teacher. I have actually teach math to my students, and I have 2 different levels, you could say, 2nd grade, and then I have 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So my 2nd graders, I take all the 2nd graders for math in 2 separate groups. And then I have a pull out of 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We did testing, the most advanced students, they come to me. So, you know, just a little bit about the day. I go online with my students, my friends online, and we are very fortunate at our school. Every student at our school has a device. Junior K through 2nd grade has iPads, and 3rd grade through 8th grade has Chromebooks. So in my case, since I have the 2 levels, I have to use both devices, and I had to learn skies on both devices because that's what I'm using with my students. So our principal also purchased a camera for us that we mount, that the students online can see our friends at school. And also, you know, I can switch the camera back and forth. We don't use Zoom, we use Google Meets. I don't know if that makes a big difference, but that's what I'm most familiar with. And what I do in class, for example, with my skies lessons, when my students come in, I have either a quick review question, a riddle, a short video that they have to watch. And like Mrs. Armstrong said, you know, that's kind of the way that I do roll, although we have, we receive a log of who's been present or who's been on the meet as well. So, but that's just for me an easy way to see who's on, and the same way I close it. So with my 2nd graders, like I said, with the iPads, it's just everything's controlled at school because these are all school devices. So it's only, they can only go on certain websites. We have Blocksy at our school. Those of you that are not familiar with it, it's a program where you can see what the students are on while they're there, or, you know, it's a school device. So if you see that they open up another tab, you can just shut them down. So it's really controlled. It's a lot easier, I think. I mean, but like I said, we're very lucky that we have, you know, all of this. Anything else? I don't want to repeat everything that the girl said because, you know, it's similar. We have a big school. Most of our students, we now have the 7th and 8th graders just joined us last week, and it's over 300 students at our school for sure. I mean, our class sizes are average, you know, 32, 35. And myself personally, I have, because like I said, it's a pull-out group and my 2nd graders come half and half. My smallest group is 12, my largest is 18 right now in school on campus. And I do teach both. I log in with my online friends. They come in at the same time that my class starts, and I teach the lesson by projecting. I use Notability a lot, and of course I have my projector. So everybody's listening to the lesson at the same time. I go over examples and whatnot, you know, and all those other extras, but that's what my day is comprised of. But like I said, I'm a little different, considered like a pull-out teacher.
Great, thank you. So there was a question that, you know, what do you all do with the Zoomers? What do you have the Zoomers do while you're teaching the traditional students?
I can answer that. So like I said, I'm teaching simultaneously. My students online, my friends online, are watching the lesson. Now, sometimes, let's say that, you know, because we're dealing with technology, sometimes the video doesn't want to upload, or, you know, I can't project it with my online friends. So I let them know, okay, look at your first card. We're going to go over this video, but they're on the same lesson as I am. I have the camera on the Meet. I can flip it so they can see me. And then, of course, I'm present with my students in class. And then I can flip it back, and I try to have them see the board because I'm at a corner. If they can't see it, they have the option to view the video online. Then simultaneously, I'm like, okay, card number 3. Now let's go over this. Now, and this might go into the other questions, but I have everything that I need on the Skies program. So they don't need to go back and forth and look for their book or get this or whatnot. So I signal, okay, card number 3, friends online, everybody's here, everybody's on the same page, you know, no pun intended, but like we're on the same card and we are looking at the same thing. They're listening to the lesson as I'm teaching it. Sometimes I will have my online friends, you know, the camera's facing me while I'm teaching the class, and we're going over examples. The same way I do the first card, okay, let's go over examples. So they are asking questions. I have my online friends have their cameras and their mics on at all times. So it's really weird at this point. It's like they're there, but they're, you know, they're not. Often I you know, project them on the board so that the, you know, friends at school can see them. But since in my classroom, it's kind of like an open forum, so they can just ask questions. There's no need to raise their hand. Everybody knows about don't speak over each other. So I will have somebody online, Mrs. Morales, I didn't get that or whatever. And then my friends in class will be like, okay, let me explain it, or I can jump in and do it. So it's working like they're there, but it's you know, they're just online.
Yeah, I second that. I do pretty much what I'm saying is what my class too. And I have told the kids that are at home, because sometimes I'm speaking to my class, to the whole class in front of me, and I have the computer next to me, but I'm looking at them, and then they're asking questions in class, so I'm answering. And so that's the only issue, is that sometimes the kids at home can't hear the kids in class what question. So I repeat the question, or I say, so-and-so said this, guys, this is what they said, and do you guys have something to say? So then they answer that way. And I also tell the kids at home, if you have a question, and because I do have the kids in class raise their hand, they have to raise their hand because they will talk over each other. And so they have to raise their hand. So sometimes the kids at home also want to say something. And those kids at home, I do allow, you guys, if you want to interrupt because I didn't hear you, or because you didn't hear what your classmate said, it's okay. The kids at home can interrupt if it has to do with what the lesson is, right? So they are allowed to interrupt. But usually it's working. I think it's working pretty well. I mean, I haven't had too many complaints. I have 14 in school now, and I have 6 at home. So it's working pretty well.
Thank you. I see a hand raised, but also some comments. I think this is very useful because it's providing some insight to maybe why, you know, different places have chosen different things. The contracts in LAUSD don't require simultaneous teaching. So it's interesting to hear about how you guys have learned to navigate that. But in LAUSD, for the most part, you know, they're not required. So it'll be look a little bit different. So I think everyone's sort of filtering that through a different lens. I see a question from Mr. Seraphin. Do you have a question?
Yes. In regards to your classroom setup, I know someone mentioned they have, I think, 12 and 18 in a room. One thing that I've been thinking about is keeping the devices, whether it's an iPad or Chromebook, charged throughout the day. And I just want to know, what kind of things have you guys set in place to alleviate, or I guess to counter some of that technical or technology, I don't know, like mishaps when it comes to charging? Because I know every classroom is different, but for example, in my classroom, like our outlets are, you know, against the wall, not really accessible for the students. So did your school buy anything to kind of tackle that possible issue?
Great question.
I can answer that. Well, in my classroom, like I said, the groups come into me. The second graders, anybody from junior kinder to second grade that has the iPads stay at school. So that's something that we guarantee they're going to be charged. Overnight, you know, we have these big boxes and they're taken into this room and they're all plugged in together. They all get charged. So they're at full capacity, you know, full battery in the morning. So we don't have an issue with that. And then we have just really enforced, again, you know, we've had these Chromebooks for, I think, 2 or 3 years now, or about 2.5 years. So the students are used to, I mean, you have, it's just something that you have to remember. You have to get home and charge your Chromebooks, but should it happen, or if it's nothing, I know the batteries will last through the day unless there's something wrong with the device. But should it happen that somebody forgot to charge or whatever, what the teachers will do, or like, for example, what I did, I had that exact same thing happen today in my class. So I just had the student, while I was teaching the lesson, and it was a math lesson, I took it and I charged it, used my charger, and I had him charging. He was doing his work on paper, and I told him he can submit his cards later. I know that with my daughter's class, you know, I have a daughter in that school as well. If that were to happen, then the students can just charge it either during recess or lunch. Of course, you know, you might get penalized here or there, but you know, it's just, we just do the best we can. And we don't have a lot of outlets. Like I know in my room, it's only like 2 corners. So it's just something, you know, teaching them to be responsible. This is now part of your, you know, you're not going to show up to school without your backpack. This is the most important thing. Like this is your pencil that you're going to write with.
Yeah, can I add to that? So I have 4th graders and they love their technology, right? So they know that if they don't charge it, they don't get to do Prodigy, for example, when they finish early. They don't get to do iExcel. They don't get to, you know, whatever, read on Epic. For example, we use Epic a lot for reading. But I have the option where, since I have it projected on the screen, they do run out of juice on their, you know, tablet or computer, then they can just look at my screen. They'll have to write it on a separate sheet of paper, which is usually more work for them than annotating directly on Skies Learn, which the people who have charged their, you know, their iPad are doing. So that's how I deal with it. If it doesn't happen too often, but when it does, my plan B is they can look at my board and just do it on a separate sheet of paper. That's how I deal with it.
Really great question. Really great things to start thinking about now. Thank you for asking these. I see one more hand, and then we'll go on to the next question. So I'll take questions interspersed. So if I move on to the next question before answering your question, I will get to you. So Miss, sorry.
Yes, that's me.
Go ahead.
I work at Pinewood. It's LAUSD school, and like you said, we won't be teaching simultaneously. So we'll have a cohort A in the morning, which will be in person, and then a cohort B, which will be remote. Is there a feature in Skies that will help us separate the cards for the 2 cohorts so that the second cohort is not seeing the work being done in the first cohort?
That's a great question. Actually, Julius recently added some new abilities in Skies to try and help those of you that want to break up your groups. And we'll be happy to actually demonstrate at the end how to do that. And we can also share the video. Actually, maybe we can put a video in the chat. Yeah, so we'll be happy to answer questions about that. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
Great. So let's look at the next question, and I want to let the panelists know their co-host, and if they would like to share their screen. I know there's a lot of interest in seeing what your lessons look like. So if you have a good opportunity to illustrate what things look like on your Skies, I know there's a lot of interest from the attendees to see that. So moving on to the second question. Could you talk about how was the transition from remote to hybrid and the challenges?
All right, I'm happy to go first. The transition for my specific class was pretty smooth, and I really attribute that to Skies, because we had set up these procedures and this routine, and the routine didn't really change. The way that they turned in assignments, what they did when they came to class, all of that was pretty consistent, except for the fact that now I have the students in class that I can help in person and interact with in person. So I really, I love that Skies gave that to me, that they gave me that peace of mind of making that transition smooth. As far as instruction and turning in assignments, of course, there were other things that we had to figure out. But the students knew that when we finished a lesson, they had to turn in their assignment to Skies by taking a picture. They had to do their daily check-in. They had to, we have share day on Wednesday. That didn't change. So the transition with Skies was pretty smooth. But like I said, it was because we had already set that foundation. I had that foundation with my students beforehand. So I know that some of you have never used Skies, and don't be discouraged, because my second graders picked it up really quickly. These kids, we really have to give them credit for what they can figure out. I was really impressed with, sometimes the kids were teaching me how to use Zoom, for example. So don't be afraid, even with the little ones, to introduce this and to start those routines. So we had established, how to use Skies, how to turn things in, how to click a link, all of those things beforehand. And then as we transitioned, that part was really, really smooth. I asked the students this morning to tell me one of their favorite things about Skies. And one of my students, it was great. She's a traditional student, since she's there with me, and she says, I don't have to get out of my seat to turn something in. So I said, that is wonderful. It's wonderful, that she doesn't have to get out of her seat. She probably just comfortable in her seat, but it's also, COVID friendly, because there's no getting up and moving around where other students are. They stay in their spot, that's 6 feet away from their neighbor, and they turn assignments in. So they don't have to get out of their seat. And then I don't have stacks of papers on my desk. That has been so wonderful. I can everything's digital. I can go onto Skies and grade and check their assignments there. Would you like me to share my screen okay, let me show you. Okay. Okay. So this is how I organize my Skies. It's by trimester. I'm going to go to trimester 2, and then these are the weeks. This is the easiest way for me to organize my work, and I've noticed that the kids are able to find the assignments pretty easily when it's organized this way. So trimester, and then by the week. And then I have sub-lessons for each week, which have the dates. So this is our Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we have share day. That was another answer that I got today about what's your favorite part about Skies, and they love to share. So I press this collaborate button. You don't have to press that. I know one of the teachers said, I don't want my kids to see what the other kids are working on. So you can turn that off, and then the other students won't be able to see what their classmates are turning in. But for share day, I do have that collaboration button on, so they can see, what their fellow classmates are sharing. This is our daily check-in for the day. So again, that's how I take attendance. We had some religion assignments that day. So that's Wednesday. These are our math assignments. This is another assignment that I really rely on Skies for, and that's their sprints. So for my second graders, it's really important for them to know their math facts. And we do a timed assessment almost every day. And for that time assessment, I am on Skies or I'm in person, and I do time them in real time. And the students know that they have to immediately take a picture and post it to Skies, or they don't receive credit for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how quickly they were able to compute these math facts. So then they turn in their assignment, they take a picture. Taking a picture or annotating are the two features that I use the most. Another thing that I like for Skies is for spelling tests. When we first started our, a year ago when we were all online, I was like, spelling is so important. And it's really, how do I take a spelling test with my second graders? So we do it through Skies. I read them the words. Of course, this week we didn't have a spelling test, but it's usually on Friday, and I give them the words on Zoom, and they post it to Skies. Again, for any assessments, they know that they have to post it immediately, or they don't get credit for it. I know sometimes there's technical issues. Miss Armstrong, I can't post it. If that happens, I just have them send me a picture through Class Dojo. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Please go ahead. Yes,
Can
Ms.
I go
Soto.
next just to show, because I have different from my coworker.
Yeah,
Miss-
that would be great to see the.
My screen is different, and I like it because we can all use it differently, however you want to use it. So like someone had asked earlier that how they would do the morning, you could also do a morning page and a PM page. So let me share my screen and go to. Let me go to, here it is. So this is how my screen is. I have fourth grade, and I have it divided into subjects. So I have art, grammar, language arts. And so for math, it's right here. And so what I most like about Skies Learn and math is that they have Engage New York on here, so I can just add it. I just go to core content, and they have Engage New York. And so they have pre all the way to fifth. So I go to fourth grade. Right now we're doing module 4. And so we're on D right now. So we did 13. I'm going to add 14. It'll just add 14, all of it here. And so if I don't want them to see something, I hide it, right? And so the way they annotate, we click it here. And then I also use mostly the camera and the annotate button too. And so this is no collaboration. So collaboration is if you want the other students to see other students' work. I had an issue last year when we first started doing Skies Learn where one student was writing on somebody else's student's work. So I was like, what's going on here? So I have not used it since. So no collaboration for this kind of stuff, right? So it's all here. And if you want to see it bigger, draw on top. And then it's all right there, right? And so they're seeing this. And this is what I project on my board. So they can all do this. So I have, my math is here. I mean, every subject, I have something here for every subject, even PE. So we go back here. It's very user-friendly. That's what I like. I'm not your most technical person, and it was really easy for me to learn. So if I could do this, anybody can do this basically. So like another thing I really like about Skies is, for example, we have textbooks, right? So I don't have my book with me, Ms. Soto. So what I do is I already took pictures for next week, but I take pictures of other work. If they have a textbook, there's no excuse because I could just project it on the board and they have it there. And so this is how we do the work. So you can actually do whatever you want. Last year I had it like this as well. And I actually I could add like music. I could write something underneath the music title and say, Monday we'll be working on whatever scales or whatever it is, right? So you can actually add it right there. So basically I just wanted to show you that it can be done differently. If you want to do like morning AM and then PM, you could do it that way and have 2 separate groups like that. Or you could hide whatever you're teaching for the AM for the afternoon or vice versa. You can hide them as well. So that's what I wanted to add.
You're muted.
Thank you. I unmuted the wrong person. And I know, just thank you for sharing. I saw a hand go up from Mr. Seraphin, please.
Yes. Has during this hybrid process, has anybody attempted to incorporate Sky's tables during this hybrid transition? And if so, how has it worked out and to what capacity?
Yeah, great question. Have any of the panelists tried to use Sky's tables, even though you're back in person? Oh, yes, go ahead, Ms. Morales.
I've tried it a few times. I love it when you're presenting, where you're just having conversations with your students, when maybe you're discussing. I use it a lot for my word problems because the students are working independently. The only thing, and James and Julius know, is that we can't project the skies on, you're at the top of the, for those of you that don't know what it is, so you're like leading on the top of the screen, you're the teacher. You can have someone come up with you and present and speak. You set up your students in specific tables, that's why it's called the tables. And then you turn on your microphone, turn on your video, and they're watching you. So it's like all of a sudden everybody's there, like we are here presenting. You can unmute each table, you can have them collaborate, you can have them just listen in. So there's a lot of control, and this is the thing about Skies that I love the most, that there's so much control in what you have as an educator, what you're going to share with your students. Even when I have my lessons, I mean, you know, the biggest thing for me, the biggest challenge was planning for something that I had not experienced yet. But once the first day of school came, you just modify everything and it's done then. So the same thing with the tables, you're there and you know, you want this table to share. So you unmute that table, then everybody can hear, you bring them up to the top. It does take, and again, I'm not very tech savvy as well. It does take a little trial and error, but with everything, I mean, with this, I think the longest thing that, the hardest thing for me was just to prepare my lessons. So every time that I've been a presenter for James, is like, that's the thing that I like to share with other teachers, how to prepare a lesson. What are the basics? I mean, and some things were so simple that I thought, oh my goodness, if somebody had said this to me, you know, I spent hours and hours trying to figure things out. So that's what it is. When I first started with tables, I always had a group. Usually my 4th or 5th graders were pretty good. And I would say, hey guys, new feature on Skies. We're gonna try it out. And everybody knew it was trial and error. And I tried it when everybody was, you know, online. I didn't have anybody there. So I would say, if I disconnect, give me 5 minutes or give me a few minutes. So your students are really going to play a role on how this is gonna work. You know, we're all new at this. We're working on this together. So it's fun to play around with it. And again, like I said, it's just, you know, getting those groups together, seeing if it works. I will tell you, it works great for some of my classes, but not so great with all of them, with everything. So, but it's definitely a fun feature to work with.
Julius, do you know if, you know how if there's people, you know, if there's like 2 people on Zoom in the same room, you get that feedback, that audio feedback. Do you know if we would have the same problem if, because I'm thinking like, let's say the kids are in the room, they're on Skies, right? And the kids that are like at home, they're also on Skies. And if you were to activate the table, like if they go to Skies table, well, let's say like the 10 kids are in class, as soon as they enter tables and start talking, like all those computers, do you know whether we get that feedback?
Yeah, I think there would be a feedback issue if the computers could hear each other.
Okay.
I think the best way around that would be headphones, earphones.
Okay.
But even then, there might be some feedback if the microphone is picking up voices. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I was thinking about, because she gave me an idea how, like, technically speaking, if everybody's on Skies, you could technically assign a kid that's at home, a Zoomer, and put them in a table with one kid that's in the class. So that kid just sees that one kid that's in class or two kids in class, and have that like that almost like one-on-one like almost like a table group,
Right.
with one kid being like home. But now I'm thinking, but if they're all on skies in the same room, like 8 of them, will we get that issue? But we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and you could always put the Zoomers on tables, and then have like, you know, the in-person people just not be on tables at all, so they can.
If I may,
Yeah.
you will not get the feedback unless they're in that same table.
Oh, that's true.
Only if both computers are on the same table, they're on the same I don't know what to call it, the same channel via then you'll get feedback. If you have 2 kids, one at home and one in the class on table 1, and then another kid in the classroom on a separate table, they have different sound channels, so you will not get the feedback.
Perfect. Thank you.
I agree with that. I've actually, on some occasions, usually my Fridays, when we're done with all our work, I have my friends that are in class join the meet, and then I break up, you know, either in tables, or sometimes I use the Google Meets, you know, their own separate rooms. But that was a concern that I had. But yes, definitely the headphones are a great idea. And like the other lady had mentioned, I just kind of group them so they're not right next to each other. And it has worked. And like I said, especially with these group projects, I always, for my math, there's a lot of collaborative work that we used to do. So this has allowed me to continue with that. And it's great because even though I have my students at home, my students in class are able to collaborate with those kids in the tables.
That's great. Thank you. And I appreciate you guys, you know, exploring these things, even though I know contractually, you know, there aren't these, you know, requirements of handling. Some of you guys might be just experimenting and trying to do things to give all your students the best experience possible. I saw a question from Mr. Ginsburg about splitting up the class, and I just wanted to point out that if you do decide to split up the class into an AM and PM, then you can use the same class and teach it twice. You'll have, notice up here, AM, PM. And so you can teach the lesson once. All the work will be your AM students, and then you can flip it over to PM. It'll be the same lesson. You won't see the AM work. You'll see the PM work. And so you can, you know, grade all the AM work, switch it over, and then grade all of that work.
So when you go into gradebook, you do actually have to toggle it within the gradebook too?
Yes. In the grade book, you'll see that shortcut right here.
Oh, okay. So, and then, like you said, to Schoology, it still uploads in one process, basically.
That's right.
Perfect.
One more question regarding the AM PM. If I annotate as a teacher on a card in AM, will it still be a blank in PM?
Yes. So actually, what I would recommend is that that you don't actually write on the work, the original card. So someone was showing earlier how they edit their card and they use one of these buttons to write on top of it. But that would affect this lesson card, and so it would be changed in both of them. What I would recommend doing is that you add an annotation. So then you can add an annotation and you can write on it, and then when you're done, you can save it. And so it'll be there. And now here's one just caveat, you know, for the experts, is that this is a lesson card, and so you would want to turn it off before the next class if you didn't want them to see it. But the previous class wouldn't be able to see it. However, you could turn this into student work, and if you turn this into student work, then be grouped over there. And so you could, you know, have one example in one roster, and you could do a different example in a different roster, because when you go to PM, it would go away. Great questions. let's see. So I think some of you alluded to this, but maybe we could yeah, hear from anyone else in terms of how did your skies lessons change?
Mine didn't change at all. I have everything submitted through Skies. That way I didn't have to deal with, oh, my online friends, my friends that are in front of me. Absolutely nothing has changed, actually. I'm just happy to be, I'm so happy that I still have this option. So like I said, everything is on here. I also post pictures of my book, the lesson. I add attached videos. I like to do my cards individually just for grading purposes. It has saved me so much time. You know, it's just so much easier for me personally to grade when it's one card, one problem. It has also helped my students who, you know, easily get distracted to just focus on that one problem, that one card, that one question. And so it's just the same way. I don't know if everybody's familiar, but you know, even then, yes, and I love the chunking. Chunking was my favorite thing. I have it all over. I used to do it the old school way, take a picture, crop, one at a time. I put my problems on there for math, but chunking is like my lifesaver right now. Chunking, do you want to do it, James, or do you want me to tell them? Chunking.
Yeah, so chunking is a way to easily break up a worksheet. So if you have you know, some kind of worksheet and you want to break it up, like you said, you said that it worked well having one item per card, and so like you can do this and use that chunking feature. So when you chunk your worksheet, now the students don't just try to fill out one worksheet. You could say, you know, I want you to do the name, and then I want you to do the email, for example. And we have various options, so you can explore the various options. But basically, the long story short is when you run the chunker, Skies will chunk your worksheets up into bite-sized chunks. So then they can respond to individual cards. I'll just turn these off, but individual cards, which you know, can actually make students more productive on the same work because it doesn't seem as overwhelming. And like you heard, you could have them focused on certain cards at a time. So, and we can share a video about chunking as well. We recently had a video about how to do that.
And for math, it is just, so like, for example, like I said, I use, and I don't just use my math book, I use many different, whatever's going to work for my students, I'm cutting and pasting from everywhere. But sometimes there's this one worksheet and I love, and it has everything I need. I take a picture, I crop it really neat. It's just my thing. And I go in and I'm like, chunk, chunk, chunk. It literally takes like, and I'm not going to exaggerate, it might take you like 30 seconds. It takes me longer to crop and align and everything, my picture. That's just the way I want it. And sometimes when I'm lesson planning, I'm just trying to figure out a way to balance my life that I had. And then, you know, so I'm not overwhelmed with everything in my school and education related. So I take a picture, I have it ready. And sometimes right before class, I'm chunking. Or I have, let's say, 8 problems, like I said, for math, or 8 sentences, or 8, whatever it is. And then I say, well, you know what, this is working. I have my original worksheet, and then I go back, I shift it over, and I chunk some more. And I'm like, guys, guess what? 4 more problems. So it has, this is one of my favorite things. James and Julius, thank you. But I think that if you have not worked with chunking, it's truly a lifesaver. And it's just, I'm always looking for things that are going to make my life easier for myself and for my students. And this one really works for me.
I think we've heard about your routine, so maybe we'll jump to the last question. It's been about an hour. Like I said, we won't turn into pumpkins. Like Julius and I will stick around and answer questions and help those of you new to Skies, where you can get support. But we have LAUSD is actually tomorrow is their first day of spring break. Regardless, just advice that you might offer to teachers preparing for hybrid.
All I'm gonna say to my fellow educators is take your day or two to plan, and then just make sure that you take that time off. If you're nervous about the lessons, if you're learning about planning your lessons, I mean, there's ways. James and Julie's have been so amazing. I was one of those teachers with somebody else, and even the guys, every single day I was texting, I have a question, I have a question. I mean, but with everything that they have out right now, you can really create these amazing lessons. An amazing lesson is going to consist of what the material that you have to present. It's not just, you know, you can have everything on your Skies lesson, or you can have partial and then you teach the rest, just like we would do in school. But really, you know, give yourself credit for everything that you're doing. You have an amazing program. I don't talk about anything this way unless I truly believe in it. And I love Skies because it does allow me to manipulate my lessons, the way that I'm teaching in class. If something's working, I continue with it. If it's not, then I remove it. It's so easy. It takes a second. So if you have time to watch over the videos, the biggest thing is just practicing. If you're a new student, a new teacher to Skies, it's just practicing and getting your cards up. It could be very, very simple. And that's the only thing that you have to do. But really, my wish for you is just to have a good break so that you can be refreshed and re-energized. So when you return, we just have that much more energy. It's super easy, but you know, have your day or two to plan and then have a real spring break off.
I was going to say the same thing. Teachers, we have to fill our cup first. You know, hybrid teaching is not for the faint of heart. I'm pretty exhausted emotionally and physically at the end of the day. And these breaks that we have, it's really important that we do take that break. I know that's hard for us as teachers. So I definitely agree. Maybe spend 1 or 2 days playing with Skies if you're new to it. If you're seasoned and you understand how to use Skies, it really helped me to spend those 2 days getting all of my cards ready for the week or the next 2 weeks, so that I didn't have to worry about.
Oops, sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
it's okay. I also posted my cards, you know, a week or two in advance, so that when I did return, I wasn't, you know, I can focus on my kids and I didn't have to worry about throughout the week posting those assignments to Skies. They were there and ready for us. But please, please, please don't spend too much time, you know, thinking about work. It's definitely important that you try your best to take that break.
and I see some hands up that I want to call from. Just before I do that, I want to put into the chat a link, which if you click on the link is going to take you to where you can sign up. You'll actually notice when you click add, we have one of our LAUSD teacher trainers here, Christina Machado, who's absolutely phenomenal. And so those of you that are new to Skies or have never used Skies, I highly encourage you to take advantage of this link and meet for free one-on-one. You'll notice that a lot of these teachers actually put a time available during spring break, and I guarantee you'll have a good time meeting these teachers and having them, you know, hold your hand and answering your questions about how you could get Skies easily, so that what time you do want to spend on Skies will be very productive. Let's see. First, I wanted to hear from Principal Montejano, and then I'll call from Ms. McCutcheon. Go ahead, Principal Montejano.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you. And, you know, I'm one of the panelists, so we'll just put quotations around that. But we heard from the experts, and just grateful to our teachers. I know Ms. Soto had to leave, Mrs. Armstrong, they're excellent teachers, and Ms. Morales is someone that I've known going back years in Catholic education. So it's a really small world. So I just wanted to say thanks. And also what I enjoy about it from an administrative perspective is all we've talked about, the flexibility that is built into it, especially for these times when we're in hybrid and high flex and all these different kinds of configurations. And then I think the equity too, that there are many different ways that you can record student responses. And for instance, a student may not be really strong at writing, but they can speak their words and record it. And so I think the equity that is built into it, I think is also a very positive aspect of Skies Learn. So just wanted to chime in and thank you guys.
Great, thank you so much, Principal Montejano.
All right.
Let's see, I see another hand from Ms. McCutcheons, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this session. I wanted to remind the LA Unified teachers that are going back either the 12th as a pilot or the 19th. Our principal has already sent us a form asking us when we would like to come in on a Saturday or from 2:45 to 5:45 on a weeknight, because you do get paid 15 hours at your full rate to get ready to return to campus. So my plan, I don't really think I'm going to need a lot to do physically in my classroom, not that much. I only have 4 kids going back to campus. That will be in the morning. It'll be delightful with such a small group, and then the others will stay online. So part of it, yeah, I'll get my physical room ready, but who says I can't sit down while I'm in the room and work on my Skies Learn lessons? I'm not too nervous because we were using Skies before the pandemic, and I don't think it's going to change an awful lot what I'm going to be doing. So thank you, James and Julius. Thank you. Get those 15 hours at your full pay. It's in the new agreement.
That's great. I hadn't heard about that. So thank you for sharing that, Ms. McCutcheons. I saw some thumbs up go up there. Thank you all. Thank you, panelists, so much for everything that you shared today. I already saw a couple people signing up for a one-on-one to meet a teacher and to get started with Skies, so that's great. Please take advantage of us. Also, just in case you don't have it, people keep warning me, but I keep giving it away. Here's my phone number, 626-905-1336. It's James Maloney, kind of sounds like baloney or the Skies guy. And I'll be very happy to share and support you. Please let me know if you haven't got started and your school hasn't got started. It's okay. We're still very happy to help you through this time. So thank you guys again for everything you shared. Have a great evening, and we'll stick